What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 221, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're going to talk all about Fable being delayed. WB Games is shutting down studios, and we had an ID at Xbox Showcase. Before we get to that and more, got to introduce my co-host, hanging with me, as always, JamPackSam. How are you, my friend?
What's up, man? I'm doing very well. To Ghostly Guides in the chat, we were worried sick. Kevin's cat was sick, so gave me a minute to check my email and download a couple of more Steam Next Fest games. But yeah, man, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. It's been quite a week for yours truly here.
Yeah, man.
Not a good week for anyone curious. I talked about this a little bit on I Hate My Friends, but that's a Patreon only show. So if you're not a patron, my car got hit by a drunk driver last weekend. Really fun stuff. And I don't think you saw the update. Found out today, said drunk driver does not have insurance.
Not shocked, honestly, quite frankly.
Yeah, that was most people's reactions. They're like, it seems like if you're that kind of individual, you're probably also the individual not to have car insurance.
Yeah, high probability. I know that I switched insurance recently for some different stuff, and it's like some people have the uninsured policy where like you get a little bit back if they don't have insurance, but it just makes things a whole lot worse. It's a huge pain.
Yeah. So my insurance company called me. They're like, yeah, so you're gonna have to pay the deductible, and I'm like, great. And then they're like, but when we're gonna sue him to try to get like some of the repair costs, and I'm like, yeah, but that's money going to you. That's not gonna be money going to me. Like, could you get my deductible? They're like, promises. And I was like, all right, well, this sucks. This doesn't make any sense. But
yeah, that's horrible. But I'm glad you are okay, first and foremost, obviously, because I know whenever I woke up, I think it was last Friday, and then I woke up Saturday, and I was like, big yawn, stretch, get ready for the day. Kevin's like, I got into a horrible car wreck with a drunk driver.
Yeah.
It was horrible, man. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I received some kind words from the community and other content creator friends, obviously, and yourself is among that. So I appreciate everyone reaching out. Yes, it's been a rough week, but I'm excited to talk about some gaming news, some games. I saw you beat a game, which I'm excited to get your final thoughts about. But let me get through some housekeeping before we roll right into that. So this is Project XTalk, where I live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/Save the Game Media. If it can't catch us live, post every Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to please drop us that 5-star review. It does help us in the algorithm. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to all Save the Game Media content and exclusive bonus content like the I Hate My Friends we recorded this weekend, where we were talking about our feelings about leaks and then gaming turnoffs, things you dislike immediately when you hear them in games. So pretty fun discussion over there. If you want that, $1 can get $1 a month can get you all of that content, just like our current supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Rick Davis, Chad, Ellery Woods Parker III, Silkenet, Lee Navarro, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Dave Harp, David Hotright, Lillian, Marcus O'Neill, Brendan Myers, Nikolai Knight, Lindsay, Brianna's mom, and Brianna's brother. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. All right, Sam, I gotta know, what have you been playing this week?
Yeah, dude, I've been playing Avowed, which I finally finished, and that took me quite a lot longer than I thought that it would, because I really just enjoyed getting into it. And I can kind of start there, I guess. So I did roll credits. My clock on my achievement says 60 hours, and I'm like,
wow,
that was a lot of time for me, but looking back, I got access on January 20th, I think. So like I've spent a month of like 2 to 3 hours most nights of the week digging into it. So it adds up. But I really, really enjoyed this game, man. And I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, the way that I described it in the little short that I made is that like, and I saw somebody else throw it out there, but it's the working man's RPG, where like, I don't have a ton of time for games anymore, like the way that I used to 10, 15 years ago. But being able to sit down and just go off on a little adventure every night and have something new to enjoy, it really kind of fit into my life in a really unique way that not every RPG can. Like I don't want to start a Baldur's Gate because I don't have that kind of time. And so this really fit into the way that I play really well, and it delivered a really good experience. So yeah, really enjoyed my time with Avowed, and I'm glad that I was able to play it with the early access, but also the more people are able to have that kind of experience with Game Pass for sure.
It's awesome that you really enjoyed Avowed, because I see there's a few mixed opinions. Like people I feel like are either really liking the game or it's not vibing with them, something about it. Because I do feel like this is kind of an RPG light game almost. This isn't as you were saying in depth as some other hardcore RPGs. Like this isn't Skyrim. This isn't even like Outer Worlds level RPG, right? So this is very much like, hey, you get some choice and consequence. You get your skill trees. Everything's very basic except the upgrade system, which I don't like. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, it does have that feel of, hey, we set out to make a smaller RPG, so we didn't include romance and picking up every little object like Starfield has, right? Like it's not that type of game.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I've seen a lot of people online that are doing the thing that people do online where it's like you shoot the Oblivion arrow up in the air and the arrow comes back down with like the momentum of an arrow getting shot up in the
Mm.
air. They can't mutilate people in town randomly. And I'm like, that's cool. I never would have thought to do any of that. So I'm sorry that you can't like do all of these little things. I don't know. It's a different kind of game for me. And one of my friends, my future brother-in-law, was talking to me about it, and he was like, "This really feels like more of almost like an action RPG, where it's like
Hmm.
you're not really role playing per se. Like it's just more about the action and the adventure of it." So, yeah, it vibed really well with me. And from there, I went into Eternal Strands. Now, have you played any of Eternal Strands at all?
I have not played any of Eternal Strands.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now, I'm reviewing the MSI Claw. I think I talked about that a couple of weeks
Yes,
ago.
it's beautiful looking.
It's a cool looking little machine, so I'm excited. I've got some thoughts that are coming later on, about a week or so, and I've been spending a lot more time with this. And so Eternal Strands is one that I booted up through the Xbox app on PC, and I've been playing that. And we've been talking, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the game that looks like Shadow of the Colossus, right? And you're like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's the one.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, man, it ain't that. That's
Oh
not
no,
that's
no.
not the game that it's not the game that I expected it to be. So I put out a post and I was like, if there's anything I've learned from Eternal Strands, it's that anytime I see a game with climbing mechanics in it where I'm scaling a large, otherworldly being, probably not best to imagine it's Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh.
Um, Not vibing with it, man. Not having a great time. It's just not my kind of game.
Mm. I'm pretty unfamiliar with like what Eternal Strands actually is because I remember people describing it, and we had a review for it. Brandon really, I think Brandon Platinum did, like he really liked
Wow.
it. Yeah, so he was describing it as like Breath of the Wild
Yep.
meets like I forget the other game, but he was describing it more in that vein. I'm like, you are saying words to me that makes me not want to play the game.
I mean, so like I'm not vibing with it yet. I'm not done with it. Like
Okay.
I think that's where I'm not putting it down, and I think that I am going to go bounce between the handheld, and then I'm going to go back and play some on the Xbox too. There is some Breath of the Wild like mechanics in there, like specifically the climbing is straight Breath of the Wild
Hmm.
style, where like you have your stamina bar and that kind of thing. The combat's solid. It's kind of like I'm very early on, like an hour or an hour and a half into it, but it's got kind of like I would call it an open world, I guess you could say, with like a hub world that you upgrade stuff in. Um, but by no means is it a bad game. I think that it's just like not what I expected going in. But it's got cool elements. I'm just not entirely sold on it. So we'll see where it goes. But definitely, if you enjoy I guess you could call it the combat style of something like Breath of the Wild combined with the exploration, then you'll probably have a pretty good time. More directed than Breath of the Wild, I would say, from what I've played so
Hmm.
far. And I'm excited to see more. I know that Nissa was talking about the dragons and stuff in the XEP Discord, and like I'm still getting into that whole like deeper into all that stuff. So there's a lot more here for me to discover, but I'm not 100% sold on finishing it yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, just no climbing of giant monsters.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there is that, but it's like we just got we'll feel out how that actually is executed. I think I just need to play Shadow of the Colossus. Quite frankly, that's the itch that I need to scratch.
Okay, is that on PC or is that still a
I
PlayStation
think it's
like
only on
only thing?
PlayStation. Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus PC. I don't know. I don't think it's on PC. No, yeah, it's only on a console. Mm.
That's a bummer. That's a bummer. Yeah, Silking It in the chat says, "Well, it's basically a BioWare game, and we know what you what you did of Veilguard, what you thought of Veilguard."
But I thought, yeah, I made a video today talking about how Veilguard's on PlayStation Plus. So
Yeah, I was just gonna
maybe that could
say
be like a
that.
post show topic. We could talk about that.
That's a good
Um,
post-show topic, actually. I have thoughts
yeah,
on that.
yeah, I have thoughts on that as well. But I said something controversial today, maybe not because I didn't get a lot of flack for it, but I was like, the past few months of PlayStation Plus feel like the graveyard for AAA games that just didn't work out. Like you've got Suicide Squad in January, Payday 3 in February, the Veilguard in March. And I'm like, what we doing? What we doing for April right now? Because it's the
Mm.
stuff that you're morbidly curious about that people spend a lot of money to make, but that you might not have bought. So I didn't really vibe with Veilguard, going back to the, not to lose the plot there, but I'll tell you what I am vibing with, and I didn't think that I would. Game of Thrones King's Road. Now, have you heard about this game at
This is a
all?
mobile game?
It is a mobile game. And guess who did know it was a mobile game until I played it on the MSI Claw, because I booted it up. It's in the Steam Next Fest demos. And I started playing it. I'm like, man, this is a really solid game. Kind of feels like it's a mobile game, though. And then I Google it. Lo and behold, tis a mobile game, but not a bad one. Really enjoying it so far.
So what's the gameplay here? Like, what's the loop?
I mean, it feels like any I guess it's like open world Assassin's Creed kind of feel to it. So it's got like it's like an action adventure game where you're kind of like hacking and slashing a little bit. God forbid I call it a Souls like, but it's got that similar kind of feel to it a little bit. And you're just going around slashing White Walkers, and you're hanging out with Jon Snow, and it's like it doesn't look that bad to me visually either. Like you can tell that, like, as I was playing it, I was like, this kind of has a mobile game feel to it, but it's not like taking away from the experience. So I'll see how much time I spend with it. I just tried it out of morbid curiosity for the free demo, but and I'm not really that big of a Game of Thrones guy, but it's not a bad game. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I only know about that because I think they showed it at the Game Awards, and then
Yeah.
in the story we'll talk about WB when they were like, we're gonna focus on Game of Thrones. I'm like, Game of Thrones.
So that's
Like,
kind of why I downloaded it, because I was scrolling through stuff and I was like, oh, Game of Thrones. WB's focusing on that. Let me see like what currently Game of Thrones is cooking. Not really that bad, really. I was kind of
wow.
shocked. Yeah.
I can't say I expect many other people to really play that game, but
I mean, I Googled it, and like TBD on what's like paid advertisement press versus what's actual press. But it seems like people are like, hey, it's a pretty good week to be a Game of Thrones fan. There's this free demo out now for this thing. So I don't know anything about the monetization model or what the idea is there, but I could see that being one that really sits well with the people that are like your Infinity Nikki players and your the Genshin Impact. Like if you like that kind of gameplay style, but you want Game of Thrones, I think that's the translation.
I was gonna say, can we get some Genshin Impact, Hoyoverse gotcha mechanics in Game of Thrones, where you gotta like spend money to try to get Arya Stark or whatever?
So that's the question. Like I don't know, and maybe the chat knows, but like I don't know how they're monetizing this, because if this just came, let me tell you, if you cut all of the like the mobile elements of it and you put this out as a $40 game, take my money. Like I'm in on day one. But if you are like trying to like nickel and dime me for gear or something, or upgrading my camp or whatever, I'm out. Like I don't need that. I'm fine.
Okay, all right. That didn't expect that one, but I'm glad you were enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. And I've got a whole bunch of demos lined up. Next Fest is going through, what is it, March 2nd, March 3rd, something like that?
Something like that. Yeah. I get so many emails every day about like just PR being like, oh, check out our demo. I'm like, there is no feasible way I could play all the demos that you like want me to play, people.
Yeah. The one in particular that I've gotten, and this isn't like me being mean or anything, but I think I've gotten 10 emails on Wild Keepers Rising, like every single day, that they always say it's like it's Pokemon combined with Vampire Survivors. And I'm like, every time I
got that one the other day.
Yeah. Every time I open the email, I'm like, all right, that sounds pretty dope. But then like it just goes immediately out of my mind and I don't think about it again. But they've hit me with this one. So like now I'm talking about it. Now I'm probably gonna play it. So their marketing is working.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the marketing for that is like choose your squad of 4 moms, and then and I'm like, okay, all right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've gotten that email for like 3 months at this point where they're like, please try it.
At first, I thought it was a legit Pokemon Vampire Survivors crossover. And I was like, there's no way Nintendo approved this.
Yeah, no. I now, to be fair, I would love that. But I showed my fiance, because she's really big into Vampire Survivors and Pokemon. And she was like, oh my God, are they finally doing it? And then it was like, oh, it's another game that like takes element. Yeah, it's all that. Yeah.
Well, I will go through what I've been playing. I will also start with Avowed, and just like you, Sam, I have rolled credits on Avowed.
Yep.
Took me a lot shorter amount of time. I came in about 22 hours for
Okay.
Avowed. I also did drop it to easy after like
Yeah.
midway through the first area where I was like, this is kind of annoying, especially that upgrade system. And I think my opinion of the game went down the further I got into it because I didn't particularly enjoy the last area like at all. I was like, this place is annoying to navigate. I'm like, I'm just not having that much fun here. Also, what's her name? The companion that just talks about sex all the time.
Oh, Yahtzee.
I hate her. I wish I could delete her from existence. She's the most annoying character in the history of video games. Holy crap.
Understandable. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. All
Um,
right.
the only companion I really liked at the end was Kai, and I'm like, it's just because you're Garrus.
Yeah.
But I did find that you can break Avowed quite easily in terms of like quest progression.
Mhm.
Because what I do when I get to an area, it's always like go to the main hub or like go to the next main quest marker, and then we'll go bring you to the town. And I'm like, nah, screw that. I immediately just like start going up and down the map, finding side quests, like exploring.
Yeah.
And in the last area, it's like go to this one entrance, let's say. Let's go to this entrance. And I didn't do that. And I stumbled into a different area where the main antagonists hang out. And my,
Interesting.
and my quest just crossed out that one and moved me like 3 steps forward in the quest line to
Hmm.
that part. And I was like, I don't know if that was intended, but now I'm here. And all my characters just kind of acted like everything had happened. And I was like, I missed like a portion of the main quest, like very
Interesting.
strange.
Yeah, I did not. I mean, I haven't like been keeping up with the discourse on it or anything like that, but that's super interesting that it like recognized and moved you ahead rather than like break it. I don't know how they break the quest system like that, but that's super interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I made my choices at the end. I thought there was pretty good choice and consequence overall, especially like I think the end of the third area, there was like a pretty big moral dilemma
Mhm.
that I was like sitting there. I was like, oh man, what do I do? What do I
Yeah,
do? So I did like that. There are parts of the game I really enjoyed. I just think like it kind of maybe 3 areas would have been better, and then the ending, I would have liked a little more substance for the actual ending. But overall, I don't regret playing it. I enjoyed my time for the most part.
yeah. I think for me, and I'm not somebody who's like spending a ton of time in RPGs. Like you know me, this is kind of one of the few that I've really gotten into and finished all the way through, and this is not by any means a deep one. But it's rare that a game makes me actually sit and think about the choice that I make whenever I'm walking through a dialogue tree. Whenever you actually get to the point where you're making the big decision. And so my fiance and I were playing through it at the same time. And so I was like, what did you do here? Just to like gauge the level of stuff because
Hmm.
I'm like, do I like, it really feels like the choices you make matter. And I know that's something that's gotten like flack online because the like to your point where you were like, I can shoot somebody in the face and totally blow them off the planet, and then like that's a action I take that is an unexpected outcome. Um, but for me, I felt like the choices that I made in Avowed had enough weight to them where it didn't feel like I was just wasting my time,
Hmm.
compared to something like Veilguard that was like just kind of like blowing through different dialogues, and it's like you basically net it out in a similar way. It just depends on how many people you've got
Hmm.
left at the end. Um, so all of that being said, I liked the way that Avowed handled all of that, but yeah, it's one that you kind of got to lean into and like kind of role play in that way. Like I let it guide me to where it needed me to go, and I wasn't trying to like crunch it out or anything. So I
Yep.
think you get out of it what you put into it, but if you're not vibing with the whole, like you've really got to get into that upgrade system and the combat system
Yeah,
because otherwise you're just not going to have a good time.
yeah, I didn't have a good time with the upgrade system at the end. Like I think the highest I got was like the legendary or something. Like I don't
Mhm.
even remember. Like I
Was it
didn't
the
get.
purple or gold?
No, I got a gold. I got
Okay, all
gold.
right.
I got gold stuff, but I didn't max out anything. So it was very much just like I'm kind of over this after a certain point. And I took your approach. I was like, I don't want to do this, but I gotta. I started dismantling all the uniques that I
Oh
was
yeah.
getting.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do, man. You gotta break down your stuff. And to be fair, like I don't think I got a tier 3 gold weapon until right before the final boss. Like I did not get a lot of gear leveled up. And so I think it's one that I'm still going to stick to what I said a couple of weeks ago when we were taking questions is like, I'm not going to go back to this and
Mhm.
do another playthrough, probably, at least not anytime soon. But it's one that I might go back to. And I'll tell you what I am thinking about playing. Thinking about going back to Fable. I'm thinking about I'm thinking about
Yes.
giving Fable another shot because I know we're going to talk
Yes.
about it here in a minute. But after the news of the week, I'm like, maybe I should go back and like see what all the fuss was about all those years ago. So that might
That's
be on the
right.
roster.
Fable 1, one of my favorite RPGs of all time, man. Oh, such a good game. Fable 1 is like, okay, you can have a wife in every town, and then they can find out about each other and get mad. If you like, I had one playthrough where I slaughtered basically the entire world, and it was just like me. So I would just like walk alone in every town and just like take anything I want. Like, there's so much you can do in that game. It just makes it so much fun, and like the evil and the good system really like it affects your appearance. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's really cool that way.
Yeah, you know what other game did that? Infamous. And we need to bring back Infamous because
I
Infamous,
I agree
yeah,
with that as well. I
yeah,
agree with that
it's
as
really
well.
good.
The other game I did beat this week, and everyone's like, Kevin, how do you beat so many games? I didn't have a car to go to work, so I had to stay home and play games. So I beat Trails Through Daybreak 2, and this is undoubtedly the worst Trails game I have played out of the 13 or whatever there are. Chapter 3 is an abomination of a chapter that is about 10 hours long, longer than the rest of the game put together almost. Because it was like, oh, yo, you know that time travel mechanic you're not that fond of? What if we do it like 16 times this chapter? And I was like, can we
Mm.
not? And they're like, too bad. Yeah, so just really not very much fun there. The ending, good. I like the ending a lot, but damn. This one I'm glad to have it in the rear view because I'm like, yeah, I'm moving on to better things here.
Yeah, understandable. I feel like sometimes you just gotta grind them out, man. When you hit a game and you're like, I'm too invested. I've got to see it through.
It's kind of like I would describe it like a Marvel movie where it's like, you know what it is? It's not nearly as bad. Like I don't hate it nearly as much as I hate this movie, but Eternals, where I'm like, I dislike this movie, but I gotta watch it because I'm like 22 movies into the MCU at this point. Like I gotta just see the next one.
Yeah, that's why you follow my in my footsteps. And once they hit Thor: Dark World, you're like, I'm good. And then you
Thor
just
Dark World.
you just peace out and you never watch another one again.
Oh my god, you
But then,
missed so many
but
good
then the third
movies.
Venom movie comes to Netflix, and you're like, I'm gonna check that one out. I'm
No,
gonna watch
no,
that.
no, that's not even a MCU movie. Don't watch that.
I wouldn't know. How would I know? I haven't watched any since I was in middle school. I don't know what's going on.
That's like my fiance. She's like, "Oh, you want to go see like Morbius and Craven the Hunter?" I'm like, "No,
Also
no, I
coming to
do not."
Netflix, by the way, Craven the Hunter.
Some of the worst movies ever made, man. Don't watch those.
I'm probably gonna watch the Venom movies, man. When I was growing up, Venom, fire, loved Venom, big
Yeah,
Venom guy.
Venom's dope,
Yeah, it's
but
sick.
like the movie is not.
But I just want to watch the symbiote crawl over stuff. I want that goo to be all over Brock or whatever. You know,
I just want that
Carnage.
goo.
I saw Carnage in a couple of
Carnage,
trailers.
yeah,
I'm in. I
Carnage
like
is dope
Carnage. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my god, I'm getting text messages about my car right now from the repair shop.
Can we get a in real time break?
I'm scared to look at it because I'm scared to know what it says. Because if it says something like that's gonna make me angry, I'll probably just like throw my phone. Yeah, it's one of those. Listen, I put my claim in Saturday, and the tow truck came and got my car today. I've been
That's
waiting
crazy.
6 days.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having your broken car parked outside, and it's like, oh, cool, reminder every time I look out the window of the mistake.
It's the one tire is just like sideways basically, and I'm like flat.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure. I'm like, I don't know how this managed to happen, but
yeah, not great.
yeah. All right, well, let's get into the news for this week because we actually have lots to talk about. Some big Xbox news, starting with story number one. Fable has been delayed. Originally scheduled to release later this year, Xbox and Playground Games have made the decision to delay the release date of Fable until 2026. Head of Xbox Game Studios, Craig Duncan, broke the news on the official Xbox podcast, stating, quote, "Well, I know that's not maybe the news people want to hear. What I want to assure people of is that it's definitely worth the wait. I have unequivocal confidence in the Playground team. Included in the podcast was new pre-alpha gameplay clips showing off some melee and magic combat, riding a horse, and more. Sam, let's talk about the delay first. Fable, probably Xbox's biggest first-party game that was scheduled for this year, no longer coming. How are we feeling?
Can we say biggest still? Like the
Dude,
Call of Duty and Doom.
no, what beside okay, wait, I forgot about Doom.
Okay.
Doom might take the cake. I don't really count Call of Duty as like that's an Activision. You know, I know
Mm.
they own them, but like we're counting
Candy Crush
Xbox
Solitaire.
games. Oh my god, what is that?
It's a new game, man. My parents talked to me about it. You know,
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
they both play Candy Crush. Yeah, I mean, for me, the Fable delay wasn't really a shocker. I mean, it's one of those games where we saw like the sizzle reel trailers where it was just a little bit of stuff here and there, but it's been kind of radio silence. And as always, take the time to get it right. I will say the gameplay they showed off has me more interested in this game than I've been to date. I think that it looks like a very, very solid game. I'm curious how I guess what the final experience is going to be like, because there was a lot more action than I expected in this gameplay snippet that we got. But are they teeing it up to be something that it's not for a player like me that likes the action? That's kind of my question coming out of that whole thing.
Yeah, so I'll address the delay first, and then we'll talk about the gameplay snippets because I was pretty disappointed when I saw the delay because I love the Fable franchise, and this is definitely like one of my most anticipated games for the year. That being said, not really unexpected, as you said. Like I've heard for months now, oh, Fable's probably gonna get delayed, right? Like
Yeah.
we haven't seen much out of like the cinematic trailers of oh, it's a giant and it's a little person and like story trailers. We have yet to see extended gameplay, and I thought maybe that would be the showcase double feature this year.
Mhm.
But 2026, I can live with it because I do feel like this year has so many games coming out. Like I opened up my list because I keep a list of everything I'm interested in, and I moved it to 2026. And I was like, 2025 still fire, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
we really don't need this. Cause then I'm thinking, like, well, Xbox has Avowed, South of Midnight, Doom, and then they have, if we're counting Ninja Gaiden 4, because they funded and are publishing it, right? Like, they have big, and then Call of Duty, obviously, like, they have big hitters, right?
Yeah.
For this year that it kind of makes sense, especially if GTA 6 is coming out. Let's push Fable along, get it into hopefully spring or summer at the latest next year. Like I'm hoping it's not like a major delay
Yeah.
because the game's been in development for like 8 years at this point. It's a bit much, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the question, and I don't know, and there might be information out there that I just haven't kept up on, but obviously development can be all over the place. So, like, how long has it really been in development? Like how much of the team had devoted
Mhm.
resources to Forza Horizon 5 versus what they devoted to Fable, etc. I feel like, and this is just like a gut thing, I think Fable is going to be 2026's Avowed. Like, it's going to fit into that same time slot of, hey, let's say GTA 6 hits this year. Let's say it comes out in November. All right, everybody's doing the GTA 6. The hype train commences. The Game Awards come around. January, we're back to the lull. And then February is like, all right, cool. We're going to kick it off with Fable. And I think that Fable, for the hardcore fans, is a much bigger deal than Avowed. But for the general Xbox community, it fits that slot of that expectation that I had for Avowed, where it's like, oh, neat game that's coming to Game Pass that I would try and I'd want to
Mhm.
play. So that's where I'm hoping that it lands for me personally, at least when it comes to the delay, and like hopefully it's not October, November 2026, because at that
Yeah.
point we're like, hey, where's the next console at?
Yeah, for real though.
Like
Yeah,
we're
it's
we're
like
getting to the end of the generation, so like, are you gonna do this thing or not?
yeah, no, it's that's really my only thing, and I could say the same about a lot of older games that Xbox has announced. Like Everwild was announced about the same time, right? And that's
Yep.
nowhere near coming out at this point. So like Xbox has always had this issue of announcing games too early. Perfect Dark, another one that I know that's had a little tumultuous development cycle, but we need games to be announced and come out sooner. And I'm hoping Xbox takes that under the like criticism, be like, all right, let's maybe a year out at most, right? Like a year or two. Cause I feel like PlayStation has kind of adopted that, right? Like we saw Astrobot, which was announced and released the same year. And then we had that Saros game, which was announced that's coming next year. I think they've kind of learned from like Wolverine hey, let's not announce games super far out.
Yeah, I'm curious on the let me back up. So I've made this point before in a couple of different videos where I'm like, hey, announce games when they're ready. Like the Fallout 4 announcement of, hey, this is coming, and they announced it in June and then it delivered in September, October, whatever the date was that Fallout 4 came out. And that was a big deal because it's like, oh, it's right there. Uh, to your point about Fable getting announced so many years ago, I've been told that it's to recruit developers onto the team, to drive
Yep.
interest, to drive investments in the studio. And so, like, it's monetary and then talent oriented and stuff like that, but it's just inconvenient for people like you and me that are wanting to get excited about games. And then I also think about Xbox's lineup for this generation because it seems like now they're finally hitting their stride. So had they not talked about anything, would we have had 5 years of like 20-minute showcases where they're just talking about, DLCs and then like the Halo Infinite cosmetics for a while? Like, I don't know what they would have filled the gap with had they not dropped some of these big names like Perfect Dark, like Everwild, like all these different things that have
Contraband.
yeah, another one, Contraband. Like, there's a lot of stuff they've talked about that they just haven't really brought back up. I mean, the same could be said for PlayStation with stuff like Fair Games and all of that. But yeah, man, it's weird, and I hope that that's something that going forward that changes. But until development cycles can get down to a more predictable state, I think that you're just going to hit this kind of stride where it's like, hey, we're going to announce something, and you could see it in 2 years, you could see it
Mhm.
in 10. You never know what's going on. Shout out to the Elder Scrolls 6 because that was like where I think the as of earlier this year, we are now further away from the Elder Scrolls 6
Mhm.
trailer than we were from Oblivion when Skyrim was announced or
Yeah.
something like that. And I'm like, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah, no, that is also one that like you didn't have to say it. Like you could have
Yeah.
just left it alone. We all knew you were gonna make it, but just like don't announce it. You don't need to show us the title card. And I saw some. We're not talking about them, but I saw someone reporting like, "Oh, here's my Elder Scrolls 6 leaks," and like everything this they listed. I was like, "That's just not true." Like
Yeah.
I don't even need to be in the know to read like coming 2026 like ship combat. Like none of that screams accurate to me.
No, and I'll tell you what, I'm in a spicy mood tonight. If anybody follows Gaming Bible on Facebook, just shut them down, dude. Just shut them down. They'll put out the most useless graphic of the most clickbait stuff, and then it'll get like 5,000 likes on it. And that's part of the issue with this industry is that they're just out legitimately spreading intentional misinformation for no reason. It's so annoying.
It's not just gaming too, because I'll follow like Facebook will bring up some like soccer related stuff because I like follow Arsenal on there. And it's always like the most clickbait, like, could Arsenal sell superstar this summer? And then you click and it's like the most worthless player, like nobody cares about. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, like right
Um
now we've got GTA 6 leak quietly teases how long it'll take us to cross the whole map. What are you even talking about, dude? What are you doing? This is crazy.
well, let's talk about the gameplay snippets. Obviously, pre-alpha footage looked, can I just say, gorgeous. Like from a fidelity standpoint, I think the
Mhm.
game looks phenomenal. That being said, doesn't immediately strike me, and Ghostly Guides point this out in the chat. Doesn't immediately strike me as Fable. This looked very like Witcher coded to me, whereas
Mm.
like RPG, but the camera's different than the original Fable. The combat looks more, I don't know how to describe it. It looks more impacty, but slower than I was expecting. And the magic takes longer to cast than something like the original 3 games. And it didn't give me immediate Fable vibes. I'm waiting to see more though. I said everyone in the Discord, I'm like, I'm not making any judgments on pre-alpha. Like,
Yeah.
because from what I've seen, like gorgeous visuals, if they can tighten up the combat and the magic and make it look, let me see a combo, let me see an actual fight instead of like just slashes or swinging a hammer and bashing like a few orcs or whatever it was. Like, I need to see more, but I am hopeful and I think it looks promising.
Yeah, I'm curious how it ends up playing out. And again, I'm coming at this as somebody who hasn't played any of the original Fable games, but I went back to pull gameplay because I talked about Fable from the reveal last year whenever they were talking about everything. And so you see like the combos hit in that where like there's a finisher on somebody where you kind of beat them down and then slash up with your sword, and it looks very cool. And I also like the I like the camera style because it's almost like an episode of The Office. You know, we saw that with the original
Hmm.
debut where it's got like it's like somebody sitting there with an over the shoulder rig, like kind of recording what's happening for the cutscenes anyway. Um, so all of that, it's speaking to me as somebody who might be in for that more generic third person action adventure game compared to what Fable might have been back in the day. Then you run into the issue the Killing Floor 3 ran into this week, where like I previewed that game and I thought it was great as somebody who just like shooting zombie looking things. But then the hardcore, Killing Floor community is like, this needs to be fixed immediately. This is wrong. This isn't Killing Floor.
Oh
So, like,
wow.
what vibes with me might not vibe with the people this game is intended to vibe with. And I
Hmm.
think that that's something to be aware of as well for people like myself that might think this looks good.
Yeah, no, it is definitely we need to see more before anyone can cast judgments. It kind of reminds me of when those GTA 6 leaks happened and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it looks so ugly." I'm like, "Bro, they're
Yep.
making the game." Like same with the Wolverine Insomniac stuff. Like when they went and looked at that, it's like the walls aren't even put in yet, man. What are we doing judging games?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And that's why leaks are so painful for the industry. That's why like I don't cover like I will never post video of like the leak itself and amplify
Oh
that
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
just disrespectful to talk about it because it's like it's like me making a cake in the oven and then I like pour all the stuff in the pan and somebody's like looks horrible. I'm like, okay, cool. I haven't baked it yet. What are you talking about, dude? It's just mean. I'm not gonna do that.
Well, we have some questions about Fable. So, Ghostly Guides was in the chat, wrote in, says, "It's been 8 years since Fable was announced. If it doesn't hit, do you think it's done as a franchise?"
I mean, I thought it was done before, quite frankly. So I think that it is fair to say that if this one doesn't land very well, it's probably going to be on ice. I think that's
Yeah.
a pretty safe
Mhm.
assumption. I think this is one where they were like going through the archives and they greenlit this one, and I think that it could very well be a one and done, or it could be something they continue to bring back time and time again. But I do think that it needs to be successful for them to keep going with it.
Yeah, I agree. If this comes out and it's a 70s, I think we're done with Fable,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I mean, how do you justify Playground whenever they can print money with Forza working on a Fable game as much as they want to? Like, hey, can we just make another, I don't know, Treasure Island or whatever that good DLC was for Forza and just like give it to PlayStation over there and like make tons of cash from that? So
Mhm.
I would imagine that's probably going to be the mindset there monetarily.
Terabo wrote in, said, "Given that Fable will launch on all platforms and likely Nintendo Switch 2, do you think Playground games have to cater to the OG fans, or does the multi-platform approach allow them to have more of a creative license?" I picked this question. I did just want to put a little correction. Hasn't been announced for other platforms yet.
Well,
I see other people like the delay is clearly for a PS5 port, and that might
oh
be
no.
true, but hasn't officially been announced. They will eventually go there, but is it a day and date thing? Are they factoring multi-platform into their creative decisions? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that it will launch day and date on PlayStation 5, but hey, we're talking about Xbox in 2026 at that point. So who knows what the strategy is going to be. And to be fair, I don't care if it does or not, really. But to the original question, I think that this is something that a lot of developers are having to kind of wrestle with that are in the deeper cut. And you don't even have to be like that deeper of a cut. But I think about like Dragon Age, where we were talking about that earlier, where it didn't really satiate the old time fans and it was clearly something geared for a larger audience. I talked about my experience with Killing Floor, where I am the larger audience and it's clearly geared towards me, but then the old heads they're going to buy this up front aren't happy with it. Payday, same situation. We talked about that for February PlayStation Plus. Um, you've got to respect the original audience but then build something that's also more welcoming for people that are coming in for the first time. And I think that those two can coexist, but it's more difficult. You've got to, there's a trade off for one or the other. Like you got to be geared towards the other one a little bit or the other one a little bit. There's not really a good way to straddle the in between. So I think for Fable, they do need to open it up to the larger audience because the old school audience that played Fable is much smaller than people that might be interested in the same way they're interested in Kingdom Come Deliverance or something like that. Like you deliver an RPG that's great and people are going to come get it. If you rely on
Mhm.
old antiquated mechanics, you might lose some along the way.
Yeah, they should just focus on making an awesome RPG because we're seeing the success that you can have when you follow that man. Like I did not expect, and we talked about this before it came out. Like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, we're both like, we're you and me, we're both like, with no real excitement on our end
Yeah.
for it, right? And now it's like selling like gangbusters, one of the highest rated reviews of the year. I'm glad we grabbed that for fantasy, but like I didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I knew it was going to be popular with the hardcore Kingdom Come community. I still don't care about it at all, but like, I get why people like it. I didn't think it would be on the level of this.
Hmm.
And you know, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, it clearly it's a huge success because they had like what 2 million units sold so far,
Yeah,
with more on
already.
the
Yeah.
way. Like, that's a very big deal for a studio of that size. And I hope that they continue to grow and stuff like that. But yeah, man, we get to go for hours about how it's a comparing Kingdom Come with this smaller team to a Dragon Age that had tons of years and tons of money. And it's like, you know, the audience and the community speaks for itself for what they're willing to throw cash at, but the scale is also different. So it's a much deeper problem in
Hmm.
conversation.
Yep. Sam Heaney writes in, says, with Fable delayed out of this year, do they show it at the summer showcase or save it for a developer direct at the top of next year?
I mean, I feel like that's gonna have to be. I would say it's a developer
I
direct.
would also agree. Yeah.
Yeah, because like we saw it last year, not a deep dive, but we saw it last year. This year, I would imagine maybe the deep dive game. Let's see, isn't Doom coming out in May? Is that
Yeah, Doom's
accurate?
coming out in May.
So it's not going to be Doom. I hope they don't do Call of
I
Duty
hope they
again.
don't do Call of Duty again either, but I don't know what fault Ninja Gaiden 4 would be weird.
I mean, the like, you know, random card they've got in their back pocket hypothetically would be the Oblivion remake.
Let's do a deep dive on this game y'all played 20 years ago.
I mean, if it's substantial enough, that'll get people going. I do agree with your logic, though, that it doesn't make sense to do something that's like the grand stage. Hey, here's this old game, we're wheeling back out. It's got to be contraband. No, but I do think that the developer direct next year is probably where they go deep dive on Fable.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that as well. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the Fable talk. We'll see you next year, Fable. Let's move on to some more depressing news. WB Games is shutting down studios. Bloomberg journalist Jason Schreier, who was on friend of the show, Luke Lore, the Xbox Expansion Pass, did a little interview with him today. I got to check that out tomorrow while I'm working. Excited to check that
Very
out.
good.
But yeah, to go over there after you listen to this, obviously. But Jason Schreier reported Tuesday evening that WB Games would be shutting down Monolith, Player First Games, and WB San Diego, as well as canceling the upcoming Wonder Woman game. Shortly after, WB responded with a press briefing stating, quote, "We have had to make some very difficult decisions to structure our development studios and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. After careful consideration, we're closing 3 of our development studios. This is a strategic change in direction and not a reflection of these teams or the talent that consists within them. The development of Monolith's Wonder Woman game will also not move forward." And then they spewed a bunch of BS, PR speak for the rest of their statement, which I didn't include in here because was basically all I could manage. Pretty disappointing ending to some studios here. I think the big one, obviously, people are pointing to is Monolith. Everyone loved the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, Lord of the Rings games. They patented that Nemesis system, which everyone really liked in that game. Everyone thought that was, oh my God, they can implement it into so many unique situations with their IP. Turns out, no, they're not going to do that. It's going to sit on the patent and make sure no one else can do it. And I also feel really bad for Player First Games, who, in case anyone's curious, they bought 8 months ago,
Crazy.
and now they're shut down. Absolutely ridiculous. How are we feeling, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not good. Whenever you're looking at WB games, you could talk for hours about how, like, what is Warner Brothers even doing, to the point of like, what's DC even doing with some of this stuff. Going back to Monolith specifically, I know that everybody's talked about how, like, they've been around for 31 years. They had some hits back in the day with like Fear and stuff, but the big ones that people know them for, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. Mordor, I loved, and I'm not even a big Lord of the Rings guy. Like, I really, really enjoyed Mordor, and the Nemesis system is very cool. Might be a little overblown. Might be a little bit more than people. It's good, but like, come on now. But I want them to get it together, and I don't think that letting go of monoliths specifically was the way to kind of get it together. And I see a lot of talk about how, who knows how many people that were there that made Mordor and War were still going to be there whenever they were making Wonder Woman. So like studios, staff comes and goes, but at the same time, I've seen very rightfully so upset developers on Threads specifically, and I'm sure they're on Blue Sky and stuff as well. Of like, we poured our heart and soul into this game, like we were trying to make something good, and so like the people behind it are what I always think of when I see this kind of thing. Now, was I looking forward to the Wonder Woman game? Wasn't top of my list. Like I didn't really want a Wonder Woman game, wasn't really asking for one. However, always open minded. We'll see what they come up with. I'm totally down to see what people make. Um, but yeah, it just sucks to see people treated like a tax write-off whenever they're looking to cut cost and like prove to investors that they're trying their best to deliver value. And the way you do that is, instead of being able to make and sell successful games, like making a really good Suicide Squad game or XYZ, whatever you want to call it, whatever they're working on, they're like, hey, we reduced our head count to improve our margins. And I always hate to see that, especially when it comes to something like multiverses that just fumbled the bag twice. So that was a wild one.
Yeah, it's very disappointing because it'd be different if Monolith put out Wonder Woman or another game and it failed spectacularly. Like we had another Suicide Squad situation, and I do worry for the teams that made Suicide Squad and obviously Rocksteady, but Gotham Knights is another one that I think
Yeah.
underperformed. Like these are games they're putting out with their IPs that are not hitting the sales targets they have. They're not hitting the critical reception they have. So when I'm like, okay, Monolith was developing a game, their last games they put out were well received. So much so you patented a whole system around it. You didn't even give them a chance to like, hey, let's finish development. Let's put out this game, and maybe it's a huge success. Maybe it's a smash hit. You'll never know now, and I think that's a shame when developers again are reduced to, hey, we got to slim the margins, as opposed to they made a product, it didn't work, and then you can kind of understand it still sucks, but you can understand it a little more there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it just sucks no matter what you do with the whole situation, because ultimately you want more people to be employed, more good games, and it seems like more and more those two things can't coexist. And we know they can, but like right now in this industry, I know that who was talking about this? It was the Matt Piscatella interview on Kind of Funny
Hmm.
earlier this week or last week, and Matt was talking about how whatever percentage of time spent on games is spent on live service games, and like those are the ones that are taking the bulk of the money. And it's like every big game that's a single player RPG, or anything that's not a Fortnite, Call of Duty, or whatever live service game you play, is fighting over the same small pool of people that are spending money playing those games. And your game's got to be really good or really popular right off the bat, or based on a popular IP, to kind of break through that. And then like people, you, me, the people in this chat are the ones that are kind of the outliers. And so just a interesting dynamic right now on how games are greenlit, how games perform, unreasonable expectations, and so many different aspects to it.
Yeah, it goes back to that conversation I think we had last week where we were talking about there's too many games. I hate to say it, there's just too many games, not enough
Yeah.
people to buy them. Especially because I think in that interview, Matt Piscatella was like, most people buy 1, 2 games a year,
Yeah.
which is wild to me. Like that's crazy. But if you got your free to play live service games and like time, money, like I get it. I get
Oh
it.
yeah, totally.
Sucks for everyone involved there, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens with WB. I'm not super optimistic about the future of WB games, if we're
No,
if we're being honest.
No, I mean, I think that I forget who said it online. I was watching tons of people talk about this, but like, just shop it around. Just like shop your people out and just partner with people. That's all you need to do. Just stop trying to take stuff in house. If you're not gonna nurture these development studios and build something cool, let other people build something cool, and you just pay for it. That's all you need to do.
Wasn't the rumor that they were trying to sell the studios without the IP and then license the IP back to the people that just
I feel
bought
like
their
I heard something
studios?
about that, which is just wild.
And I'm like, that business model doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Oh yeah, well we'll take NetherRealm and then we'll pay you to license Mortal Kombat so they can make Mortal Kombat instead of just buying Mortal Kombat. Like it's a dumb business model.
Yeah, it's stupid. Well, they should license out the Nemesis system though. Like if they want to make some money on
I
that,
agree with that.
I
Yeah.
guarantee you they would just overcharge for it. No one would use it, but you could still try something. I can feel it in my bones.
All right, let's move on to our last news story. The ID at Xbox Showcase. So IGN's putting on their Fan Fest this week. Did you watch any of the ID at Xbox Showcase?
I did not. I've had a very busy week, but I have gone through and I've kind of like skimmed the
Yep.
I've skimmed the blog, so I'm up to date on what was going on.
So just speaking on the showcase, because I was watching it, and I gotta say, I don't like the format. They had commercial breaks. They were like, okay, we're gonna show you four things, take a commercial break, come back, show you more things, commercial break. And I was like, I feel like I'm watching TV. Like, I don't like this. I want a showcase. I don't want ad breaks in between
What
these
were the
things.
commercials for?
There were other like games, like mobile ads or stuff like that. Or I think,
Interesting.
yeah, like TV gaming, TV shows or something like that. It was very strange.
Yeah. It's just funny because like, hey, we're all here watching trailers, which are ads. And then like in between your ads, we're gonna break up these ads with some ads and we'll be back in a minute. That
Mhm.
sounds very strange, but it is IGN, so like they've got to foot the bills too. So I get that.
Yeah. Well, we'll give a quick rundown, and if there's anything you notice or through your skimming, we can talk about it. But Revenge of the Savage Planet is coming to Xbox and Game Pass on May 8th, 2025. I think this is a sequel to another game.
Journey to the
Uh,
Savage Planet.
yes, not
Yeah.
familiar with it.
It was
Looks
fun. I enjoyed it.
okay. All
Yeah, it's
right.
got some good environmental puzzles and then like just exploration. It was a good time, not a long time, but I
Hmm.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. We got the announcement of a new co-op FPS game called Jump Ship coming to Xbox in early access this summer. This did absolutely nothing for me. I
This
was
one's
like,
been blowing up
this
online, and this was announced.
really.
Yeah, this one it was announced like a year and a half ago, and I've made some videos on this one just because it looks very cool. But I forget who I want to say it was like former Minecraft developers. That maybe like it was a popular game. I forget who made it. But Jump Ship's been blowing up, man. I don't think it'll be like the next No Man's Sky or anything, but I do think that it'll get some attention when it drops.
So I'm seeing there's a beta available if you're interested. You can sign up for it for PC or Xbox. It's a co-op FPS PvE game for four players. I was trying to see what the development team was, but not seeing it. Yeah, I mean, if you're okay, I can see it. This definitely appeals to a certain audience of people, but I'm a little skeptical when I hear early access.
Yeah, can be a little dodgy.
Echo Weaver, a new time loop Metroidvania, comes to Game Pass when it launches at a to be determined date. I, again, didn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
Very
no.
Very I guess I had a cool mechanic, but I can see time loops getting annoying in a Metroidvania.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just it's not really my cup of tea. And if I'm playing anything, it's gonna be Hollow Knight, and I haven't even played Hollow Knight, so that's my thing.
I know Alpaca Tom in Discord was excited for this one. Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault is coming to Game Pass in 2025, the sequel to Moonlighter, which I know a lot of people have really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this one, I played like an hour and a half of Moonlight or maybe 2 hours back in the day. But it's cool how they've transitioned this into a 3D art style. I think that's a really well done one. Also reminds me of Tunic. And I do love me some Tunic.
I had
So
that same thought. I was like, this. I had to go look because I was like, this isn't what the original Moonlighter looked like. Or like I
no,
could tell from the color palette and like the key art, but I was like, I don't remember it looking like this.
no, but I do like the look of it. And Tunic is phenomenal. Highly recommend playing that if you haven't already.
Blueprints gets a new trailer. This is the strategy puzzle game coming to Game Pass and PS Plus if you're on the PlayStation side on April 10th. Um, Visually, very good looking game. I'm not a puzzle guy though, so like this is not what I'm looking for with my video games. Like I like puzzles, but there has to be gameplay around it. I don't want strictly puzzles, but I know there's a lot of hype around Blueprints.
Did we talk about this one last week?
We have talked
Somebody was
about this
excited about
one.
this. Yeah. I
Yeah,
forget who it
Sam
was.
Heaney's excited for this one.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, this is again not doing anything for me, but cool to see it getting because it was at the PlayStation showcase,
It
wasn't it?
was. Yes,
That's where it
it's
was.
been on a few shows the last few weeks.
Yeah, neat. No, I mean I'm all for smaller indie devs getting the attention they deserve from this kind of thing, and cool to see it coming to Game Pass and PlayStation Plus on day one. So that's a win for players.
As if I summoned him, he appears. Outbound, a new open world exploration game, was announced coming to Xbox in 2026. My only note here is don't announce your indie game over a year away. Like it's not great marketing. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
no.
honest.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A little too far.
Herdling comes to Xbox and PC this summer. This is a game where it looks like you're just herding giant animals. Kind of cute, but probably not for me.
Yeah, it looks that is exactly what it is. It's going to be a vibes game.
Yeah. New cozy punk, and this is how they describe it: cozy punk narrative sim wax heads comes summer 2026 to Xbox and PC. Again, if you like these style of games, more power to you. But I did like they spent a long time on this one only to get hit with a summer 2026. I felt like this one should have been next year. Like show this off next year at an ID showcase.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because like I don't want to undermine what developers think about their games and stuff, but this feels like a hey, it's available now. Like that, this is not a let it sit for a year and then come back to it. But just my 2 cents.
Don't Nod announces the Lonesome Guild coming to Xbox this fall. You get to like build your squad, go out, have some battles. This one looks kind of interesting. I'm keeping an eye on this one. Also, I like Don't Nod games usually, so not their
Yeah,
Life is Strange stuff, but their other stuff.
yeah, Donut is solid. Definitely looks like Moonlighter too and Tunic. So you know, we'll see what the obviously the in between with the cinematics is different, but I'd probably keep my eye on this one. Is this also a Game Pass game?
No, it's just
Yeah,
coming to Xbox. So this is again, that's one of those I'm like probably wish list. Like that's not something like oh I gotta get that day one.
right.
That's like Game Pass or like a sale probably for me.
Yeah, same.
PC horror game Buckshot Roulette comes to Game Pass soon, is all they said. Very weird game. I think you can play it multiplayer with your friends up to I think it's 4 people. You sit around a roulette board, but you have a shotgun and you like either have to kill yourself or kill your friends based on the gameplay. Could be a fun time.
Yeah, well, it's out now on Steam for $3. So you
Oh,
know,
okay.
if you wanna play that, you can definitely get a good deal on it. It reminds me heavily of Inscription, like to the point
Yes,
that I'm
it
like,
has that. Yeah,
yeah, is this the same developer? I don't think it is, but
I
it's
don't
like
think so.
the exact same feel. And I'm really interested in it. Might play this on Steam Deck, honestly.
It could be a good Steam Deck game. I mean, $3.
It's
It's
$3.
also coming to Game Pass. So if you want to save the $3,
Yeah, $3 I might wait for a sale. You know, just
wait for a second. That's PC mentality right there.
PC mentality. Got to wait for sales. $3.
Hotel Barcelona gets a new trailer coming later this year. This is one of those artsy games. Silking it, where are you? You're in the chat. Is this going to be good? Whenever I'm looking at these, I'm like, would he like this? I need to ask his opinion because this is not a Kevin game.
I'm trying to. Oh, okay. I got it. The gameplay. Yeah, this is not a same game either. But yeah, not for me. But I'm sure it's for somebody. I do. What is this? Ooh, this reminds me of something. This reminds me of God, what was that? Well, it was it was like a dungeon crawl. I don't know if it's a dungeon crawl thing. Yeah, it was like a hotel where you had to go and kill demons and like climb levels. Ooh,
Hmm.
dang, what was that? What was that game? Anyways, I don't want to derail stuff, but the combat has that kind of crunchiness to it. Dang, I wish anybody in the chat know the game I'm talking about. Uh,
I don't, but it says this is from the creators of Deadly Premonition and No More Heroes.
I do see the No More Heroes references, like in terms of the gameplay. It's not not Luigi's Mansion. Demon. I'm asking Copilot. Demon.
It's
Game.
a 2.5D slasher film parody action game. Okay. Now you're piquing my interest.
Trying to remember
Sure.
what it was. Anyways, we can keep going.
Yeah, looks interesting, but maybe chat can help you. Yeah, not Luigi's El Paso elsewhere?
No, it wasn't that one either. Oh
No.
man. I feel like it was a free to play. I know Man versus Game used to play when I watched him back in the day on Twitch, but been a long time.
All right. Well, maybe the biggest announcement of the show, Game of the Year contender Balatro is now available on
Ooh.
Xbox Game Pass. I didn't put it in the notes because I'm kind of always playing Balatro these days, but I did boot it. I downloaded it on my Xbox. I was playing some. It's still good. Still good.
Yeah, my fiance downloaded Balatro and started playing it on Game Pass. I'm still playing it on Steam, just because I bought it there. My saves are going there. But
Yeah.
yeah, phenomenal to see it finally on Game Pass. Not to even say that it was like something people were waiting on, because you can get it for what, $15 normally, and it's the
It's
game of the
cheaper than
year.
that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, multi-award winner. So it's good to finally see it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm glad more people. I mean, I'm surprised they even. I wonder how much it cost them to get on Game Pass, because it was selling. I think it had over 5 million sales. So it's not like he was like desperate for money.
No, not at all. I think that was one where Xbox was like, "Hey, can we get this on?" Like, it wasn't developer coming to beg for money. It was Xbox coming for good game on Game Pass, especially for the PC side.
All right. Team 17 reveals musical journey rock beasts coming this year. We're back to games. I'm just like, this is for someone.
Yeah, I'm good.
Rataton, a new rhythm roguelite from the creators of Patapon, comes later this year.
Hey, I like Patapon, man. Patapon's underrated.
I, listen, I'm glad that you like Patapon. I've never played Patapon.
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
a PSP staple back in the day, dude.
is Patapon the one where you had to like? Is that the Astrobot inspired level? Is that the what I was playing, or is
I'm sure
that?
there's a Patapon level in Astrobot, because Patapon's like core to the Sony PlayStation DNA.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like they're like little balls, and they like get together and break apart and like
Yeah, pretty
move.
much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It was. Tempopo, a music puzzle game, is coming to Xbox Game Pass April 17th. Cool.
Cool.
Maybe my game of the show, Tanuki Pond Summer, combines BMXing and being a mailman, coming to Game Pass later this year. This game looks dope. You get to be this little furry Tanuki delivering mail, pulling tricks on your sweet bike. Oh, Astrobot has Patapon and Loco Roco. Loco Roco is what I was talking
Ah,
about.
yes. There are some similarities between. Are they the same developer, or are they different? But they have very similar art styles.
Not sure, but
Because
uh,
Patapon's kind of like, I remember it being like Pikmin. Like, it was kind of like Pikmin, but I forget what they do specifically. But then Loco Roco is where they all kind of like merge together into one big ball.
oh yes, yes, Loco Roco is what I was thinking of.
Ah, okay.
Anything for Tanuki Pond Summer for you? You trying to be a mailman pulling sweet tricks?
I mean, I feel like this and then Wheel World are like the same premise.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
have you
one's cute.
played?
This one's cute though.
I mean, it is, but also Wheel World feels a little more my speed personally.
Okay, all
However,
right,
I might give it a shot. We'll see what happens.
all right.
Coming to Game
Uh,
Pass.
yes. Descenders Next, the sequel to Game Pass hit Descenders, comes to Game Pass in April. You ever play Descenders?
I don't think is that the bike game? No,
Yes.
yeah, with the dev that always talks about indie games.
Yeah, Mike
Um,
Rose is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hyping up Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I have played Descenders. I did not get super into it. However, your boy likes snowboarding. So, but it looks like there's more than snowboarding in here. I see.
Yeah, look, I think there's going to be multiple sports in this one.
Yeah, I'm all about that. Yeah, I'm looking at the more that I watch, the more that I enjoy it. I see a lot of various boards. So it's kind of like Riders Republic, but not overcomplicated.
Mm,
Very into it.
yeah. Bithell Games brings Tron Catalyst to Xbox on June 17th, 2025. This was announced a few years ago, if I remember correctly, that they were
Yep.
making a Tron game. I just I haven't ever vibed with their games, unfortunately.
Yeah. Bithell, he makes some it's not going to be stuff for everybody, but he'll definitely like it's a game for somebody. I forget what game he played that I really or he made that I really enjoyed. Hold on,
Did
let's see.
was he the was he the Vanishing of Ethan? Or is that what that game's called? Was that him?
No,
No,
no, no. Let's see.
he may.
Why is Tack and the Guardians of Gross on his Thomas Was Alone is the one that I really
Thomas was
enjoy.
allowed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the
Yeah,
one I was thinking
so
of.
I enjoyed Thomas Was Alone. The narration was great. Volume didn't really hit with me, and then I've heard good things about John Wick Hex, and so now Tron is kind of like the
Mm.
next big thing. He also worked on iCarly for the DS, apparently. Cool.
Fire.
Yeah.
33 Immortals hits early access for Xbox Game Pass in March. Cool. I will check this one out. I'm still not completely sold on it, especially because it's early access. You 33 players all at once seems like a bit much, but we'll give it a
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, it's I'll be interested to see how this one pans out, because we've been like waiting on it for so long. But hey, I'm gonna give it a shot once again because we've been waiting on it for so long.
And finally, Lies of P Overture DLC gets a new trailer. Still no release date. Not much more for me to say there. We talked about this when it was announced. I'm excited for you as a Lies of P fan, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, I don't know if there's much more to say on it.
Nah, not a whole lot to say. This trailer didn't do a ton for me, really. But at the same time, I'm excited to see that it's coming. You know, it's sooner rather than later, coming this summer. I'm ready for gameplay. People are hypothesizing that it might be bringing co-op elements, but that's not really looking like the case.
Mm.
TBD. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, more Liza P. I'm always down.
All right, and that is your ID at Xbox Showcase. Nothing major there for me, in my opinion. But Sam, that'll actually do it for the show this week. A lot of talk. We had a lot to talk about, but
Yeah.
let's wrap it up and get on out of here. So why don't you let everyone know where they can find you, my friend?
Yeah, yeah, you can find me at JamPackSam everywhere. There is content, threads, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that fun stuff. A lot of good stuff coming. Got the MSI Claw review coming up in the next couple of days. Then I've got some other stuff that's coming up for review in the next couple of days. Some cool unboxings on the way. So lots of good stuff coming. Very excited. And
Sweet.
of course, right here as well every week.
Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. Your shorts are naturally popping up for me these days, and I'm like,
Phenomenal.
yeah,
Love to
my
hear it.
algorithm's being trained. It's basically CW clips of CW shows and Jam Pack Sam is kind of what my shorts algorithm is.
That is a very small
Yeah.
Venn diagram that you found yourself in right there, I'm
don't,
sure.
don't I know it? Don't
You're
I
like
know it?
Flash from 2013
Yep.
and Sam. That's exactly
It's
what I
not
need.
even it's not even wrong. It's how it's going. Well, you can
Uh,
find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere. It's 107 IO and 7A. Follow us at Save the Game Media over on Blue Sky to stay up to date with all of our latest content. Until next week, we'll see you. Goodbye.